early in my business. Actually, I kind of learned it on my mission where, initially you're super nervous and you're so worried about what you're going to say next that you're not listening to the responses of the questions you're asking them.
Right.
Hey, what's up, guys? We are back for another episode of Solid. This is episode number 7 already, feels like to me.
Went fast.
It's gone really fast. So here with my co-host, Jeff Fieldstead, we're lucky to have him. He was showing me some of these books we're going to be talking about today. And I'm just always, one of the reasons I love being around Jeff Fieldstead is he makes me a better guy. I learn a ton from you. So today I'm excited to learn from you on our topic of the day. We've been talking a lot about how it seems that people skills in general we were talking about, right? But customer service, people skills in general seem to be deteriorating. And I think a lot of that has to do with the way that people communicate today. They don't communicate face-to-face a lot of the time. It's over social media. It's over texting. And I think it might have something to do with it, but whatever it is.
Yeah, I think you're right, definitely. I think that's one of the reasons, right? Social media, people texting, right? Let's face it, people will say things on the internet that they wouldn't say to your face, whether it's on a comment on social media or a text message. I feel like, people take less responsibility for their behavior when it's an electronic communication.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think everybody feels like a philosopher on social media, and so they can say whatever they want to say, and people listen to them sometimes, right? And sometimes it's not the right. We were talking about this yesterday, just about how you got to be careful who you listen to, and then when they say something, what is what they're saying based on any sort of fact or science to back up what they're actually saying. Yeah,
you have to use some discernment of whether or not there's validity in the information that they're trying to program into you, right?
For sure. It's like somebody trying to give marital advice has been married for a year or two and you've been married for 10.
Exactly.
And I see that all the time.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think when things are going really good, it's easy to give advice, but the people you really want to get advice from or the people you want to learn from are people who have gone through challenges and then came out of the other side wiser, stronger, better, and then maybe have been through that challenge a couple of times. Maybe they've helped someone get through it as well, or probably the wisest people to learn from. But I think, people skills have gone down not just because of social media, but I also think maybe the division because of politics in our country and what's happening, which really comes from, I think, a lot of deep-rooted, beliefs. And then I think politicians have maybe poked and prodded at people's emotions that mean something to them, trying to fight for votes, and I think it's caused such a division in our country. And I think that happens. I think social media has exacerbated it. It's made it worse for sure because you'll get on social media and sometimes it's like you'll be scrolling through Instagram or something and you feel like there's a war happening in the streets outside, and then you go outside and it's like the birds are chirping. You're like, maybe everybody isn't freaking out and hating each other that much, but then it's almost like you go somewhere where there is a group of people and it's almost like they feel the same amount of threat. Like they're always like, they don't know how the next person is going to respond. And I feel like that kind of culture or situation that our country is in right now has, rather than people thinking about, hey, how can I serve or how can I smile at somebody, right? People have been wearing masks and you can't even see if someone's smiling. You don't know what their behavior is. You don't know. It's harder to read their emotions. And so I think those things cause people to be a little bit more maybe skeptical of other people and their intentions as well, right?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah, and as we talk about some of this stuff today, and in regards to people skills, there's people that have great people skills. I know a lot of them. And there's some that probably could use some help on just some fundamental basic stuff. And I think we can maybe help some people today with some of that, just in us building businesses with a lot of people.
Yeah.
and we've dealt with a lot of different situations, situations that maybe between us and the people we were leading and coaching, as well as inside of our offices. Sometimes there'd be some misunderstandings or things that we had to kind of help with, navigate. And, I think when you're not good at something, it feels very difficult to handle something, right? So if you don't have really good people skills, I know, if you're not good at it, then you don't want to deal with people, right?
Yeah, I think those are the people that say, "Oh, I don't like people."
Yeah.
It's not you don't like people, you're just not good at dealing with them yet.
For sure.
Right.
And it's just like anything else, you got to get in shape for it, right? I always like to say, if doing things that will bring you success wear you out, it just means you're not currently in shape for success. So you've got to get in shape for success. And the way you do that is you start doing things that a successful person would do, and that gets you in shape for success. When you get in shape for success, then all the success starts to come into your life.
Exactly.
So, when it comes to people skills, it's the same way.
Yeah, I mean, the fact is you're going to have challenges when you're dealing with people. I've always said that if you don't have any people challenges, you don't have any people, right? It's human nature that people have issues, challenges, struggles, especially when you're in an environment of growth, right? Where in our organizations, we were growing, right? And you have an environment of growth. This is why they call it growing pains, right? Is there's going to be some conflict with whether it's, relationships or whether it's, folks on getting people moved to the same direction. Leadership is kind of like herding cats.
Yeah.
Right. It's a very methodical thing that you have to do, and using people skills is probably the most important thing anybody could do if they have a desire to lead people and grow an organization and make anything better. I think people skills is the most important fundamental.
I do too. And I think a lack of communication leads to a lot of misunderstandings and a lot of assumptions with people. Yep. So we were talking before too a little bit about customer service and how, there's, especially today, I mean, we know, if you're going to go buy a car or you're going to go buy a product, that a lot of things are backed up right now. Yep. And they're going to take longer to get here. And, and I own a outdoor company and we have products that are bound back order because of that situation. And what I found is, you can't necessarily control that as the provider of those services sometimes, because, if I have a customer who orders some hiking boots and those hiking boots are on back order and we can't get them, my responsibility as that business owner is to communicate to that person, hey, listen, you ordered these last week. Normally they only take about a week to get to you or a couple days to get to you. They're on back order. We expect them in a month or so. Right? And now in a month, guess what I'm going to do if they're not in? I'm going to call that customer again and say, hey, you know what? They're still on back order. I just want to reach out to you and let you know that. And people are very understanding when they get that communication.
People
right?
know when you're in a situation like that, people know that you're not in control maybe of the actual physical product of arriving, but you are in control of communication about what's happening to that situation, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so I think if you take responsibility for the communication of that, I had a similar situation in our backyard. We're doing a new backyard kitchen and pool and all that kind of stuff.
Construction stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And everything has been delayed throughout the process. And so obviously there's multiple contractors that we've worked throughout the process. And I've seen two sides of the coin. The one side is we have so much business, we don't need your business. And so you're lucky we're here and we'll get it done as soon as we can. And then on the other side of the coin, we've worked with contractors to say, hey, I apologize. It's taken longer than it should. They continuously communicate. They're constantly keeping me updated. And when you're working with those two kinds of contractors on the exact same project, you really appreciate the professionalism that goes into people just willing to communicate. Both of them have the exact same issue. Things are delayed. It's taking longer. It's not as easy to get done. They're both busy.
Both have good skills, probably.
Yep, they both do a good job. Mm-hmm. But one of them, it is a clear distinction amongst the one that is willing to communicate. And I've told my wife this. The one that communicates, I appreciate it so much. I would refer him. I would do business. it's still been
This
delayed.
is so big, man.
Right?
So
I would
big.
refer him to everybody.
When things catch up, who are you calling to do your pool or do your barbecue or to refer somebody?
Watch this, right? So then the other guy go, no way, right? I wouldn't refer him to anybody. It's not, he did a good job on my yard, but I wouldn't want people that I referred someone to him, I wouldn't want him treating people and having him make them feel the way I felt trying to deal with this guy, right?
Right.
So then one of my neighbors comes and sees our yard. He goes, oh, man, it looks amazing. Would you be willing to help me? I go, sure. Now this guy's, he's mega successful. In fact, we'll probably have him on one day. When we're getting ready to go do his, in fact, we just started excavation today. And so we're looking for the guy who is the exact form of contracting, and I got to ask for a new guy because I won't refer this guy that I used in my backyard to my friend because I don't want him to feel that way. I don't want him. So now I'm looking for a new contractor in that same area. And
you have one right here. But,
yes.
Yeah.
But I don't want my friend to have to deal with the same thing I dealt with. And so I'm looking for someone to say, hey, I would rather have someone that I can refer to that I know my friend is going to get good service. And so that's also my credibility on the line too, right? I want, when I refer somebody, I want my friend to come back and go, dude, that was the greatest experience I've had. Thank you so much for referring them to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Right? Absolutely. Yeah. So I think so much credibility gets built during these type of times too, right? Because there is so many things that are out of our control, but again, you can control how you communicate, and that just builds that credibility. So when things do catch up, guess what? Now you're going to have great business coming your way. I had an experience where this was early on in my business. I was probably 23 years old, and I had hired or recruited a lady and started training her. And and then when I was training her, we went and visited some of the people that she knew that needed our services. And there was one night where I wasn't training her. I was actually out with another person that our appointments all fell through. So what I did was I was in the same neighborhood as somebody that I met with this other lady that I was training. And so I just wanted to stop by and just follow up with them and see if I can get an appointment for her and us, right?
Yep.
So I was doing a good thing. I was trying to build her business. So I did that and set up the appointment. And then I was busy that night, so I couldn't call. I didn't have time to call. I had another appointment I had to get to, so I didn't call the lady that I was training. Well, her friend called her and says, hey, Brandon stopped by, set an appointment with me. And she thought I was going around her.
Yeah.
And so it just, early on in my career, I realized how important it was. I should have just taken an extra 2 minutes and said, hey, just want to let you know, first of all, I should have got permission. Hey, can I stop by? And I'm in the neighborhood. Would it be all right if I stop by and set an appointment with them? I know they wanted us to follow up with them a couple. Anyways, I didn't do that, right? Or worst case, if I stopped by and just set the appointment, because I was just getting it done, and my heart was in the right place. I was doing it for her.
Yeah, you're focused on building the business and helping her grow, yeah.
But the lack of communication, and I just had an experience this morning with a company where there's been lack of communication. And it's not that the company isn't doing all they can do to service their clients, because I believe they are. It's they're, in my opinion, in my case, they weren't communicating to me what was going on. And so what am I thinking? I'm going, man, are they taking care of me? Are they taking care of my customers that I've referred, right? So I just think that we can't overemphasize the importance of that.
Well, as you say that, it makes me think of another experience I just had, and we went up to go stay in Park City. We wanted to escape the heat here in the desert, and so we were going to go up to Park City. We knew it was going to be cooler, and so we went to go stay at Stein Eriksen, which is I think the only, I could be wrong, but I think the only Forbes 5-star hotel in Utah. So it's supposed to be
super nice.
Yeah, the highest rated hotel in Utah. And it's in Park City, which is already kind of a bougie area, so you expect most hotels to be there nice. And we've stayed there before and had a great experience. And this was before the pandemic, right? And so now, just a couple weeks ago, we got there. We pulled up, and it's my wife and I and our 3 kids. And we get out of the vehicle, and I asked the bellhop to bring us a cart so we could put our bags on it, but he didn't bring it. So I ended up having to take our bags inside. We check in. We get to our room, and it was a different room than we had paid for. We had ordered room service, and they didn't bring us any water. And so then we called and asked if they would bring us water, and they said, well, it's a charge. We just paid $500 for room service for our family that night. So, would you just bring us some water? They wouldn't do it. They actually said,
even in glasses, like
nothing, dude.
Wow.
They said, call housekeeping, because if we bring it to you, we're charging you. Just stuff like this, right? And so then when we're checking out, we had also booked it on this, hey, summer retreat, we'll give you a $200 credit at the resort, kind of like these promos they do. And so when we booked in, or when we checked in, we had booked the hotel the same day. So we woke up that morning and went, it's so hot in town, let's go to Park City, right? So we get there and they said, we have to have the email, and the email takes 24 hours to generate. So on checkout, you'll have the email. So we get ready to check out, and we didn't get the email. So we said, well, we didn't get the email, but you could see that we booked this. They refused to give us the $200 credit. Now, it's only $200, and if you're staying at a hotel like that, it's really a small cost for the actual whole stay.
Yeah.
And so I told the lady, I go, really, it's just $200. Like, for me, I'm thinking about the experience. I'm at a 5-star. I go, so am I making a mistake thinking that I'm staying at a 5-star hotel? Is that a mistake of mine? And she goes, no, sir. And I go, well, you would think that something, like, I understand if you can't give that credit, but you would think, hey, I've paid for valet $35 a day to park here. Maybe you just say, hey, you know what, sir, we're going to take care of your parking. Just something just to say, or maybe even, here's a free bottle of water and some cookies for your kids. Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
I apologize we couldn't fix this, but here's a solution. There was no solution. It seriously was, sorry, bye. And I just said, you know what? I'm not going to go there anymore. I'd rather go to St. Regis.
You left feeling like a second-class citizen, right?
I told her, I said, I'll never come back because I feel like you didn't want us here. And I can go to St. Regis up the road, and we usually stay at St. Regis, honestly. And we came to Stein Eriksen because we thought it would be more fun for our kids because they have some great kids programs. But it just shows me that it would just take such a small little thing. And it isn't the company. It wasn't the hotel. It was the training of the individuals that are interacting with people.
Yep.
Right. And so it takes me back to that saying I learned early on in my career is there's no such thing as a big problem, just small people. And I took that personally, thinking like, okay, if there's a problem that I have in my business and I feel like it's big, it's just because I haven't grown into it yet. So it feels like it's a big problem for me.
Yep.
But I know somebody who's where I want to be would handle that, and it would be like nothing as a problem. And that is their ability. They've gone through issues, they've gone through challenges in their business, they've handled them probably both the right and the wrong ways, and so they know the outcomes.
Yeah.
And so it gives them a lot of confidence in their ability to handle challenges or navigate situations in business. And those choices that we make with people impact every area of our lives.
Yeah, so
right?
good, so good. Yeah, no big challenges, just little people. And same thing with getting in shape for success, right? If it's hard, we're not in shape enough yet.
Exactly.
That's all it is. We all know how it feels when you're not very fit and you start working out, and it's super painful in the beginning, but as you get a little better, it gets a little easier, and you work into it.
Yeah, I think obviously these are some of the issues. People say, so what do I do to solve some of them? Well, I think first it's going to come from your perspective as an individual, right? So for me, one of the things that irritates the heck out of me that people say is that's not my job. You ever hear someone say that? It drives me crazy because it's like, it's okay if it's not your job. But if you have a mentality that says I want to get better and I want this place to be better because I'm here, like, it is really, you're only going to do something that's your job. Like for me, I think I would want to go above and beyond. So I think the biggest thing that people can do is have a mindset of saying, I'm here to make this place better because I'm here.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's my job or not. If you're a cashier, or it doesn't matter if there's something that involves not your job, but you go above and beyond, people notice that. But more importantly, it makes you a better person.
Yeah. I heard Sharon Lechter say something we should ask ourselves every day is, have I added any value to somebody's life today? And that would be a good thing to be thinking about when you have the tendency to think, oh, that's not my job.
Right.
Well, what value can you bring in that type of a situation?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things you could do, right? Like if you work somewhere and there's trash on the ground, pick it up. You don't have to. Maybe it's not your job, but it makes where you work better.
Yep.
It makes the environment better, and if it's better for you, it's better for the people around, and if it's better for the people around, they're probably going to bring people back, which means you get to keep a job.
Yeah,
right?
For sure.
So whether it's a job perspective or an employee, and I think that or I mean an entrepreneur, but I think if people can always take ownership, whether you're an employee or you're an entrepreneur, you own the business. If you can take ownership and treat it like it's yours. I used to say that all the time, treat the office like it's yours, but then I'd go to some people's homes and I go, maybe they shouldn't treat
treat the office better than you would treat
Yes, so I go above and beyond, right? Just make a decision up front. So I think when it comes to people and it comes to who you are as an individual, if you can make a commitment up front just to say, wherever I'm at, it's going to be better when I leave, right? It's going to be better than I found it.
Yeah. I mean, life is so much more fun when you walk into a room or walk into some place where there's other people and you smile and you say, hey, how you doing? Hey, good to see you. And you just have that energy about you. There's a couple books we'll talk about today, but one of the I think is probably one of the most popular books out there that's only like 30 pages long is called Skill with People.
Yeah,
by a guy named Les Giblin. Yeah.
Yep.
Funny, I just had a guy text me this morning out of the blue. We were already going to talk about this.
Yep.
No joke. So he was in our business before, right? And he said, hey, what was that book you always talked about? I got a new position in my job, and I'm going to be training some people. And what was that book about people skills, right? And that's what he meant. And it's just, I'll go through this real quick. A couple things. It's really good because it starts off. It's an easy, simple read, and it has just ways that we learn as human beings. 83% sight, 11% through hearing, 3.5% through smell, 1.5% touch, and only 1% is through taste. So that's how we learn. And then how we retain information. 10% is what we read, 20% is what we hear, 30% is what we see. 50% is what we see and hear, 70% of what we say as we talk. So this is why it's important to learn to be able to explain it right. And 90% of what we say as we do a thing. And I always think that when it comes to training something, if you can't train it, you don't know it yet. Right?
Yeah, there's a dramatically different effect if you're just consuming information versus consuming information to teach it. And which is a great way to look at everything. I think if you're always, whether it's in your spiritual life, if you're reading through the scriptures and thinking, how would I teach this message I'm trying to learn myself? Mm-hmm. Really, you have to understand something to be able to simplify it, right?
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, what a great.
For sure. And then, and these will, I think, kind of correspond with these books you have here in front of us. So maybe we can just kind of go back and forth on these books. Yeah. But one is Understanding People and Human Nature, and he talks about how human nature, people are like 10,000 times more interested in themselves than you.
Always.
Yes.
And I think in that context, right, you'll notice, especially extroverts, they talk and talk and talk and talk, and they love to talk. It like lights them up, right?
Yep.
One of the things that I would encourage people to do is you should always be thinking about how many questions you're asking about someone else, because naturally we like to hear, we like to talk about our kids and our lives, or someone will say, hey, I like this, and you go, oh, I like that too, and I did this, and this, and you start telling them stories, right? And I think that's a natural response, where really the response should be asking more questions to get them talking about what they love more, the things that they care about more. And so, yeah, just a question.
Yeah, if we find ourselves always having to one-up them, right? We just need to be aware of that. Maybe, hey, my kids do that too, but then, hey, what else do they like to do? Or, make sure you keep the spotlight back on them and hear them. Maybe make sure you're listening to them.
Yeah, ask them a question and waiting for the response with a genuine wait, not thinking about what you're going to ask or what you're going to say after they finish what they're saying.
Yes.
Just wait for the response and be involved in the conversation.
Yes,
right?
For sure. And he just talks about the basic questions. I know a lot of this is basic, but I'm telling you, a lot of people don't
forget.
They forget, or they don't really. I mean, I was pretty fortunate, I think, growing up. I was around a lot of really good people that just had really good people skills because, and more than anything, it's because they were friendly, genuine, serving. They were serving people. They genuinely cared about other people. And Art Williams used to say this all the time, right? Is when it's in your heart, it just comes out right.
Yeah.
And I really believe that the majority, for me, anytime I'd go into an appointment to meet with somebody I'd never met before I ever met him, before I went to go see him, I would think about my parents or my brother or sister that I was going to go meet with, and how I would want to help them, because as if they were my parents, right? So that helped me listen better. It helped me connect with them on a deeper level. And I really believe that helped me to have a lot more success than I would have had I just looked at them as, another person that I had just met. I mean, it was another level, you know. So,
or in a lot of people in that situation that are in sales are just thinking about the sale, right?
Yeah.
I think for me, because some of this stuff that you talked about come naturally, it was actually very hard for me because I'm naturally an introvert. And you met me early on in the business. I was rough around the edges. I had almost no people skills. I had nobody around me in my life really that had ever showed me what people skills were.
Yep.
I definitely had some people with a lot of charisma, and I think I was blessed with some charisma, but I didn't have any skills. And so all of this has been a very hard learning curve for me.
Yeah.
People skills. I would argue to say that the hardest thing in business for me has been people skills. And I would say the two things that have helped me the most is, and I always come back to these two words, is number one, servanthood, is I just constantly try to remind myself I'm here to serve. Like if I can just be a servant, whatever that means. Like if I'm at someone's home and they just allowed me in their home, like I'm grateful you let me in your home, right? I mean, you don't know me, and if I'm in your home, I'm grateful I'm here, and how can I serve? Like what can I do that when I leave, I made your life better because you met me? So that has helped me a lot, is just being a servant. And it doesn't matter where it is. You know, I could be, I was walking through my neighborhood with the kids the other night, and there was a guy who just got a bunch of yard work done, and the landscapers had left some of their stuff kind of on the sidewalk in front of his house, and we were walking, and I just started helping him move the stuff, you know? And so then he texts me later.
Who does that?
Yeah,
Nobody does that, right?
Text me later thanking him. You know, I just walked out of my way. But, you know, there's a couple of reasons I did it. One is I just thought it was the right thing to do. Two is that I'm glad my children see me willing to help someone in my neighborhood. You know, I want them to see me go out of my way and help one of my neighbors.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not going to get anything in return. That's not why I did it. I did it because I thought it was the right thing to do. But I wanted my children to see me serving my neighbor. And by the way, that is not in my nature either. It is now, but like when I started in business, I never had that example. So it wouldn't have been something that I just think about. I can go help him.
Makes me think about, talking about being with your kids. I've been with my kids where I've given somebody some money or something, right? And they've seen that happen. But I'm trying to think if I've ever actually, like when you're driving down the road and you see somebody broken down.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever stopped yet.
Wow.
Maybe that'd be something to do, to stop and actually help somebody. I don't know if you've ever done that.
I have. You know, this is a cool thing that we'll do, and maybe you should try it with your family and see how it feels.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people would love to hear this. What we'll do once in a while, and I can't say we do it frequently, but we definitely do it consistently over time, is we'll wake up one day and we'll go, hey, guys, we're going to go serve somebody today. And so one time my son had worked so hard, he was saving up money to buy a pair of Nikes, which aren't cheap now, right?
Dude,
so a pair of Dunks, they're like...
Dodger, my 6-year-old wants a pair of Jordans that are like $130.
Yeah, so these were $165. Yeah, he's 7. He wants a $165 pair of shoes. So I said, okay. Yeah. I go through this plan. He starts saving his money, whatever. And we were at a restaurant one night, and this young girl was up front, and the restaurant was busy, and you could just tell she was stressed out. And my son goes, Dad, we should bless her. Right? And I go, how do you want to do it? And he goes, think we should give her some money? And I go, you want to give her some money? He goes, yeah. So I go, how much you got? And he had like $65. And so he goes, I go, you want to give her all 65? He's like, yeah. So he just walks up to this young girl, gives her the money, and just says, I just wanted to bless you, and walks off. You know, and I think... So and that is because once in a while we'll wake up and we'll do that. Where, if we're at Starbucks or something, we'll pay for the car behind us. Yep. If we're, sometimes we'll be at the grocery store and we'll pay for the person in front of us. Oh. Or we'll just wake up and go, like my wife will go, hey, you have any cash on you? Go, yeah, I got a few $100 or whatever. She goes, we're going to go give it away today. Yeah. And we'll just drive around and, we'll look for somebody and just go, you look like a person that could use $100. And what it does for you, right? And not everybody has the ability to go around and give away $100. Yeah. But you do have the ability to go serve your community some way. Right. Right. Everybody does. And it could just be at your job. You could just show up 30 minutes earlier and set a good environment that people show up to work and they feel good because you showed up early.
For sure, for
Right?
sure. Yeah, no, for sure. I think it's easy to like talking about the driving down the road example to go, oh, someone else will stop because people are good people. I know someone's going to stop, but I need to be maybe one of these days, especially with my family, because I'd like them to experience that. Because I mean, I've served people and helped people in situations like you're talking about, and it always feels great, right?
Yeah.
It always makes you feel better, and obviously you help them and anyway, so I think that's really good.
But I think like what you said, if people wake up intentionally, like if you can wake up intentionally every day with a goal to serve someone,
yeah,
how much better would our lives be?
for sure.
Right? And that's the whole giving and receiving concept, and if you just give without any expectation of what you're going to receive, good things just happen.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then I think another word that I want to say is not only servanthood that has helped me, but also one of the words my wife constantly reminds me of is grace. Just give people grace.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, a lot of us, and in fact, all of us, we all have insecurities. There's all things that we're all nervous about. Sometimes, all of us will be at a certain place in life where, am I good enough? Can I really do this? Who do I think I am? What are they thinking? We all do this as natural human beings. And so I think the word grace just helps me so much. Just remember, just give people some grace. Yes, sometimes people are late and it's frustrating, right? Sometimes you got to wait in a doctor's office longer than you want to and it's frustrating. But if you just give people some grace, a lot of times that starts changing the mentality of the people around you. And if the people around you start doing the same thing, next thing you know, you've got an environment where you're excited to be a part of. You feel like you're wanted. You feel like you're needed and praised, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is, I think, another important thing. And people around you, do they feel like, man, I'm glad they're here,
Yep. Very good. Very good. Okay. Well, awesome. Okay. So we'll keep going here. Just look at some other things here. And I want you,
I say I've got a bunch. Yeah, I think of a few books. Brandon's talking about skills with people. I would also say one that I don't have because I just gave it to somebody the other day is called How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Yep, another really good one.
Yeah, I know Warren Buffett said he went through a Dale Carnegie course, which is the author of How to Win Friends and Influence People. And this is Warren Buffett, and he went to Wharton, which is one of the most prestigious schools in the world, and got a degree in, I think, economics or finance. So, I don't know exactly what his degree is in, but all the things Warren Buffett has done, and he said that the most important degree that he's ever gotten, I don't know if he calls it a degree or certificate, was completing the How to Win Friends and Influence People Dale Carnegie course.
Yeah, I was just looking it up here real quick. Good.
So, yeah, I think How to Win Friends and Influence People, a good book. Another phenomenal one that I just love, and I'm actually reading this to my son right now, and it's just cool going through it and seeing these things as Pushing Up People. Pushing Up People by Art Williams. I think anybody can get it. And there's another one called Leadership Wisdom of Solomon, I think is a really, really good book, and we can go through some of this. And the one I really love, I was talking to you about just a minute ago, Brandon, is called Magic. And Magic is cool because it's a book about being grateful. So, focusing every day on the things you're grateful for. And I think you said it, I don't know if it was last episode or a couple episodes ago, that you can't be pissed and grateful at the same time. So in order for you to be grateful, you've got to genuinely be happy and live in that grateful space, which makes everybody's life around you better. And if you're constantly living like that, people want to be around you, which is people skills, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Skills with people means that you have the ability to make the people around you feel better.
Yep.
That's
yeah,
it.
Pretty simple. It really is. Yeah.
It really is a simple thing to practice.
Yeah.
We just forget because we're emotional, selfish creatures.
We are.
We are.
Yep, no doubt. So a few other things here too. One is how to skillfully make people feel important, right? And pretty simple things to do there. And I know Art talks about a lot of this in Pushing Up People too. But one of the number one in here is listening to them.
Yes.
Really listening. A lot of people, I think, feel like they're not heard, and that's a lot of times why they maybe either don't speak out at all or they overspeak, right?
Yep.
And try to,
One of the things that I've learned over the years to help with that, I think sometimes, usually if people don't feel heard, they start, whatever it is, retreating from the conversation, which could be in the form of yelling and screaming or getting mad or getting defensive and attacking or just shutting down and leaving the situation. One of the things I've found that has helped me the best is simply just to apologizing, right? If there is a situation where somebody doesn't feel heard, it's like just the ability to say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make you feel that way. You know,
Yeah.
I apologize. And that's hard sometimes because maybe that isn't it the real situation of what happened, but it doesn't really matter. You said something the other day about the effect of what people see. You know, what was that question? It's not how you actually treat people, it's the way they perceive you make them feel or something like that. Do you remember?
I don't remember the exact, no.
You said something like that the other day, and I just thought it was powerful because it's true, right? People's perspective of you isn't the real truth of what happened. It's how they perceived of what happened, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes if you just say sorry and you're just willing to say, I apologize, you know, I think a lot of times as we're changing and we're trying to get better with people, we're still going to make mistakes, so we're still going to have these situations. And so sometimes it gets frustrating as you're trying to work on people skills. It was for me because I would make these mistakes, consciously know what I did, and then do it again and be like, dang, like, man, I screwed it up, but what can I do to fix it?
Yeah, right.
And I'm telling you, man, what helped me so much, and I still do this today, is just saying, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I apologize.
Right.
I'm going to get better.
Well, I think too, I mean, let's say I was working with you and maybe you did make a mistake or actually let's think about this. Maybe, you know, there's a challenge we're dealing with right now. And if I were to just call you and just say, hey, we got this challenge and, you know, and I'm trying to think the best way to explain this. I mean, if I said, hey, Jeff, I'd like to get your feedback on how you think best we could handle this situation.
Yep.
Maybe there's a disagreement between you and somebody else that I know, and you're both trying to work it out. And I think that just the way you handle those type of situations, it might be, hey, Jeff, you know, when it comes to criticism, right? You got to be very careful with criticism because nobody improves in performance after being criticized alone, right?
Nobody.
So,
in fact, people that tell you they want criticism, you have those people, coach me tough.
yeah.
Those are the people you never coach tough
No.
because they do not want to be coached tough,
Yes.
right? And they think that's what's going to change them, and it's not.
So, I mean, I think the way you might handle, the way I've tried to handle a situation where somebody does need a little bit of maybe correction is, hey, Jeff, can I talk to you about something real quick? Hey, I want to let you know, first of all, I'm going to point out things I think you're doing really, really well. Jeff, you're doing this awesome. You're incredible. I appreciate you so much. There's something I'd like you to focus on to work on a little bit that I know if you can just get this, you know, maybe it's you know, some people need help with their enthusiasm a little bit, right? If you just be a little bit more enthusiastic, man, you're going to take it to a whole new level. I mean, you're already like one of the best there is, and you fix this one little thing a little bit and I'll help you do it. I mean, I know you're working on it. And so, you know,
it's like that sandwich philosophy, right? The good at the top, crap in the middle, good again, right?
Exactly.
You just sandwich the crap in the middle. Yeah, stuff you got to fix.
Because just a tiny little bit of correction, I don't even like to call it criticism, goes a long way.
It does. It's like, it reminds me of that. I don't know if anybody has ever seen it, but have you seen where Albert Einstein does like, you know, I don't know if it's plus or minus, but 1 + 1 is 2, and then 2 + 2 is 4, and then at the bottom he gets one of them wrong, right? So, and it was like, I don't know what, I think it was
I know what you're talking about, yeah.
And he wrote the wrong answer wrong on purpose, and everybody's laughing at him, he wrote it wrong or whatever, and he said, you see, I did all these other equations correctly, and the one I got wrong is the only one you noticed. Unfortunately, we have to remember that we can have incredible experiences, we can do amazing things for people. It only takes one time for them to remember that forever. And this is why sometimes we just have to be willing to swallow our pride and know that even though, it's probably the right thing. I used to say that all the time, but it's the truth and it's the right thing. Yeah, but telling someone the truth doesn't always help them fix it. In fact, it may shut them down from them being willing to allow you to influence them at all. Right? And how sad is that now you lost the influence of the ability to help them correct anything simply because we couldn't swallow our pride and just, learn to do it a better way.
I mean, think about just our kids and working with them. How many times do they, they're kids, right? They do things, they don't make their bed in the morning and your Rome always makes his bed. I know
he's good at it. Yeah.
But my boys, I got to remind them every dang morning, right?
Yeah.
So I'm always, I don't want to be the dad who's always like, did you make your bed? Did you make your bed? Did you make your bed? So what I try to do is I try to say, hey boys, looks like you ate breakfast already. That's good. Oh, you got dressed really good. And did you make your bed yet? Hey, go get that made and you're on track, right? So I try to do it in a way that's not just the one thing that I'm focused on, worried about, because when they feel like they're doing good in other areas, people naturally want to do better in other areas.
Yeah.
They really do. They want to, I know I'm that way.
Yep.
If you focus on what I am doing well, I already know what I'm not doing well.
Yep.
I really do. And I think most of us as human beings, we know where we're not, we're not there yet. If we can stay focused on what we are good at, we'll naturally want to work on the other things and will.
Yeah, I think it goes back to that whole philosophy of the only two things more powerful than sex and money are praise and recognition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for
and
sure.
It's true, right? If we
Mary Kay, right?
Yep.
She said that, yeah.
And it is true. She's right. It's you praise and recognize people. Whatever you want repeated, just continue to praise it, and that's what will continue to happen. What a lot of people forget, I think, is sometimes we'll have people, whether it's in business or with children or whatever. Let's say it's in business and you have someone that continuously shows up late. It's a frustrating problem. If you have a meeting going, it's just a bad habit, right? And really that's all it is, a habit. Well, if every time they show up late you say something, even though it's a negative thing, it's still recognition. Hey, you showed up late. 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 Well, what's happening is you're recognizing the one person that was late. Mm-hmm. They're getting all the recognition from the entire crowd. And I used to do that. And then I remember I had a mentor tell me one time, like, hey, do you want them to continue to do that? No? Then why do you continue recognizing it? I go, what are you talking about? I'm not recognizing it. Wow. They go, yes, you are. Every time they walk in, you say their name.
That's good. Wow.
Everybody wants their name said.
Mm-hmm.
So you know what I started doing? I started once in a while, I'd tape a $20 bill under the front chair. Nobody would know. And I go, hey, I just want to recognize you for showing up early. So I started recognizing people for showing up early. And then I would start having people compete. They would show up to the office first, and they'd be like 3-4 hours early because there might be a $20 bill under the chair, And then you start having the opposite effect. But you start realizing how much people just praise recognition. They just want to hear their name heard.
It is amazing. No, it's such a powerful thing. I think also too, just simple thing, use their name as much as possible.
Yes.
And remember their name.
Yes.
Gosh, I got to remember. I got to do better there, right?
Someone,
hey, how are you? What's your name? They'll tell me, and then, hey, what was your name again? 5 minutes later, So I think it's so important to just. I think Tom Hopkins used to say their name 4 or 5 times before you go into the appointment, right?
Yep. Yeah, I think one of the things that's helped me that is, write it down. So I'll say it a few times, and then I'll write it a couple times too.
Yeah.
And then and then the more you use it, the more you remember it. But I also think if you're genuinely there to create a friend, you're much more likely to remember somebody's name versus when you first meet somebody, it's like, oh crap, just met this person. What am I supposed to say now? And then as they're telling you their name, you're already thinking about what you're going to say. So you can't remember their name because you're trying to have a conversation.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's that whole awkward situation of this dance of building a relationship with somebody where really, I think if you're entering, that relationship with a goal to serve, a lot of these challenges solve themselves up front.
They do. That was such a big thing for me. Again, early in my business, actually, I kind of learned it on my mission where, initially you're super nervous and you're so worried about what you're going to say next that you're not listening to the responses of the questions you're asking them.
Right.
And people can tell right away, right?
Yes.
And I learned that if I would just pay attention to the answers they would give me to the questions I would ask them, the next thing to say was natural.
Yes.
I didn't have to think about what I was going to say next,
Exactly.
And, that takes practice.
Mm-hmm.
All of this takes practice. So if somebody's newer in sales, there's a good chance in the beginning you're going to be very scripted because you're trying to get those scripts down, right?
Yep.
But you need to work on it and practice it and memorize that stuff so that it becomes a part of you so that when you're at the appointment, you're present in the conversation.
Yeah, I think not only does it help you there at an appointment, like in a sales appointment, but it's also going to help you with your family. It's also going to help you with anybody. If we go out to eat, I'm pretty good now at remembering the server's name. And you use their name, they feel so good. You tell them they're doing an incredible job. Next
Get
thing
better service.
Yes.
It's
they
like check on you more often.
Yeah, because they feel like you care and you appreciate them.
Jeff, I'm telling you, this make people's life better. Just a little thing like that, right?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. One of the ways that and maybe this is bad, but one of the ways I really judge people is I like to go take them out to eat and pay attention to how they treat waiter or waitress serving them that they don't have any relationship with, right? And it really gives you a good perspective of how people treat other people when nobody else is around. Like, how do you treat this person that you don't need? And so it's awesome to see successful people a lot of times treat people that help them really, really good. Like, I appreciate when I go out to eat, I'm genuinely grateful there's a server there, because that's why I'm there.
Yeah.
So if I'm thinking that way and I use their name, hey, thank you so much. Hey, you're doing an amazing job. Hey, I appreciate you. You know, the other night we went out to dinner with Kelsey's family, went to her family reunion, and I'm on this carnivore diet and I wanted a steak. So I'm like, hey, is there a steakhouse close? And they go, well, there's one at the bottom of the hill. Well, we all decided to end up going, right? And so there's a bunch of us. We get at the steakhouse, last minute reservations. They do an incredible job. I mean, it's hard to bring warm food. I think there was 15 or 16 of us. It's hard to bring warm food to 16 people, let alone great food to 16 people. It was fast. It was great food. And we just kept telling them the whole time how awesome they were. And at the end, it was a big group, so they put the gratuity on the check already. I'm like, they deserve more gratuity. You know, I wanted to give them a bigger tip and show my appreciation that way. But I think the reason their service was so good is because the group we were with was so awesome and so appreciative that they were willing to serve us at last minute, a large group, a nice steakhouse. And it was just the dynamic. I think it was special. And I think if people started looking for that more often in life, they'd have a lot better experiences. And it's that whole saying that goes back to the pastor that says, hey, if people bring more guests to church, I'd preach better. And then the congregation said, man, if the pastor would preach better, I'd bring more people, right? So who really should be starting first? Everybody.
That makes me think of the book Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink, right? And when there's a situation like that, well, they should do this better. Well, I would do better if they. And you're playing the victim card, or you're not taking ownership of the situation. You know, if you come to me and you have a challenge, you say, hey, Brandon, I thought this was going to work out different. To take ownership, I'd say, oh, Jeff, I must not have explained that to you very well. I apologize. Let's go through it. What were your expectations? I'm sorry. Will you tell me how I gave you that expectation, or maybe where you got that from?
Yeah.
And if it was something, I'm just going to take ownership. And what that does, that builds a lot of trust that you can trust me.
Yep.
Because I'm taking ownership instead of saying, well, you understood it wrong. That's not what I said, right? And I've caught myself doing that earlier in my career. Hopefully I don't do it now anymore. I think I'm aware enough now I don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
But there were a few times, no, you heard that wrong. I didn't say that.
And then they feel attacked. Like, now they have to fight.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. So, and that kind of goes along with being agreeable. And you may not. I guess a question I would ask is think about this: how do you be agreeable if you don't agree?
You don't. You ask quality questions. So you don't have to agree with someone who's wrong without causing confrontation. So someone can be wrong, and you can ask a question that doesn't cause confrontation while still getting them to explain where the breakdown in communication was, right? And that's just your ability to ask quality questions, which I think a great book on that is Tom Hopkins' How to Master the Art of Selling, right? Your ability to ask questions. One of the things Hector used to teach us early on, and I truly believe this, the questions you ask yourself and others will be in direct proportion to your quality of your life, right? So, if you ask yourself certain questions like, man, do I deserve a bigger house, or do I deserve a better life? Doesn't my family deserve more? These are questions you ask yourself, or the questions you ask others. Hey, I apologize. Where do you think that the communication breakdown happened? Or what can I do to make it better? Or what would make you feel better? See, here's another. Sometimes people will call you mad as a client, and you can just say, "Hey, I apologize. What can I do to solve it?" And now you're getting them to be in a solutions-oriented mindset. And so now they're starting to think about, "Oh yeah, nothing. I just needed a vent."
Yep.
And sometimes that happens. They just wanted you to hear their frustration, and sometimes we feel like we can't be that person for some reason. Like, they're mad, and so we're going to lose them as a client, or so I have to hurry up. And where a lot of times just listen and just say, what can I do to fix it, right? What do you think the solution is? Nothing. I just needed someone to vent to. Cool. So you just needed me to yell at. Fine. I've literally said this to clients before. And I've said that. So what do you think the solution is? Nothing. I just needed a vent. Oh, cool. So you just call me to yell? Yes. Okay, cool. If you need to call and yell at me again, feel free.
Yeah, that's good.
I legitimately have said that to clients because I'm okay if I get frustrated too, right?
Sure.
And how much And doesn't it build good relationships with people you feel like you can cultivate too?
Yeah. Well,
You know what I mean?
we all as human beings need to be heard.
Yes.
So sometimes that's all it is.
Just does someone else care besides me?
Yeah.
Right. I think that's how they're feeling. And yeah, sometimes they just need a buddy that say, "Don't worry, I got you."
Yeah. No matter what anybody says, that's a human need right there.
Yeah. So I feel like a lot of the stuff we've gone over are great ways to maybe solve some challenges. What do you think are some great ways to maybe build relationships as you start? Like, I think one of the things I try to do with people is I read a lot, so I'll scroll through social media once in a while, but not a ton, but I read a lot. So I'll go on to like Apple News and I'm reading about the market, the financial markets, what's happening. You can set reminders on your phone for a certain kind of information you want to come through. And so I'm constantly paying attention to stuff like that. But one of the things I'll do is I'll send articles to people that I'm thinking about. So I'll see an article and maybe it might, if I see a hunting article, I'll probably think about you. Mm-hmm. So I'll just say, hey, Brandon, thought you might like this article. And I'll just send it over to you, right? Mm-hmm. And I constantly am doing this with people in my life. And it does a couple of things. Number one, I think it lets them know that I am thinking about them. Mm-hmm. Like, all I have to do is send them a text of an article that's
easier today than it's ever been, right?
Oh, my gosh.
You used to have to mail people something
and we really used to do it.
We did.
Right? Yeah. Cut out articles in a magazine and write a note. Hey, I was thinking about you, and mail it to them. Now I can just send them a text and go, hey, dude, thought you might like this. Mm-hmm. And now they know I'm thinking about them, but they also know I care about their interests, right? And then they know that I'm also aware of that topic. So it allows conversation in the future, right? So that's one of the keys that I use a lot to build relationships.
Can you imagine if you sent somebody a handwritten note and did that today? They would either think you're a psychopath,
serious,
or they would really think it was awesome.
Yeah,
so you're taking a risk. I'm not saying you should or shouldn't.
First of all, they go, "Where did this dude get this printed article? Like, do they even print stuff anymore?"
No, I think all joking aside, I think somebody would be very impressed. And in fact, I know they're very impressed because I've got a good friend of mine, Brian Mayman, he is always writing thank you notes.
He just sent me a thank you note the other day, and I called him to tell him thank you. Right? Yep. Because I appreciated so much. He took time to write a note.
Handwritten note.
Mail it to my house.
Nobody does that today. Almost nobody does that today.
Yeah, and just awesome. I think that's another great point is writing people a handwritten note. And I think one of the great ways you can do that as well is it could be something as simple as, if you're at a restaurant, just writing on the receipt, hey, you did an amazing job today. Thank you so much. Mm-hmm. Or if it's a friend, there's nothing wrong. And here's another thing. In the world today, so many people are scared to just tell someone like, hey, dude, I appreciate our relationship. I love you. I think that the amount of impact that something as simple as a note like that on any relationship is drastically undervalued.
Yeah, there's a book called How to Become a Rainmaker. This is reminding me of,
Yeah.
And things like that. I mean, and I did this early in my business where, if I met someone for a few minutes and got their business card, I would write them a little note. Hey, it was good to meet you the other day. If I just met them, all I had is their name and their address,
Yep.
Maybe on a business card, I'd send a note to their business. I look forward to meeting you in the future. Hope to do business with you later.
Yep.
And the universe or whatever you want to call it, we'd run into each other later. They would remember me because nobody does that. And it would turn into stuff all the time, whether it was business or a referral or just another relationship.
Yep.
And still to this day, I've got those relationships out there that bless my life, right?
Yes.
So that's really good. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, I think, handwritten notes or just, letting people. Here's another thing that I think. Sometimes you'll be having a conversation with somebody. Let's say you and I are having a conversation and we bring up, we're talking about a good friend today, Dean, right? And I bring up Dean. My wife will do this and she'll be talking about someone and go, man, I love them. And I go, send them a text and tell them. Right, and so that's one of the things I've tried to do a good job of. And I know you've gotten some of those from me randomly, just like, hey, why is Jeff just telling me he loves me all of a sudden?
For sure, man.
I want people to know, like, if they come up in conversation, first of all, it's only going to be good if I'm a part of the conversation, right? But when they come up in conversation, I constantly am just sending a text message to those people, just like, hey, I appreciate your relationship. Love you, dude. Hope you're having a great day. And just saying those things to people, just letting them know I'm thinking about them and my relationship with them matters.
So good.
So I'll do that. And then another thing I'll do is if I'm driving down the road, rather than listen to the radio or something like that, and I love listening to podcasts while I'm driving as well, but I'll on my truck, I have this big dash and I can scroll through my contacts. And I'll just scroll through my contacts and just randomly call some people. You know, instead of driving for 30 minutes and listening to the radio, I'll take 30 minutes and I'll make 5 phone calls.
So good.
And I get voicemail most of the time.
Yep.
But all my voicemail needs to say is, hey, man, you don't need to call me back. Just thinking about you. Just want to let you know I appreciate you. I hope you're having a phenomenal day.
Yeah. So good. Such a simple thing to do.
Yeah.
And all this stuff. I think there's a lot of people that are always asking questions like, man, how do I start a business? How do I get out of my dead end job or whatever, right? And they don't know how to do it. And it's these kind of things that they can be doing. And you may not know what business you're going to do. You may not have any idea. But if you're just a genuine good person, which you are, but if you would do this extra little stuff and just make calls like that, and you go, well, that's not my nature. Well, guess what? You get to learn, right? You can change as a human being. You're not a tree, right? Jim Rohn used to say you're not a tree.
Yep.
You can change.
You can change. You can move.
And this is stuff that isn't natural. I mean, that's definitely not. I know you. That's not natural. Now it's become natural. I think it's become natural because you've trained yourself to do that. So now when you're driving down the road, it's almost a trigger.
Yep.
Oh, let's make some calls.
Yes.
Listen to make some calls, right? And how much more fulfilling in your life is that? And those relationships, even if they're just. I mean, you know, we all have people that we see every couple of years, and I mean, I know I've got some buddies that I rarely see, but when we get together, we can just talk about real stuff right away.
Right.
And if we don't see each other for 6 months, we can genuinely not even talk for 6 months and get back together. You know.
Yep.
And you end up with those kind of relationships, and I don't know, it just blesses your life. They're there when you need them, and you're there for them when they need you.
Yeah, you've heard the sayings. It's not what you know, it's who you know, and it's true. But it also, I think the end of that saying should be what you appreciates. So if who you know is what matters, which it does, relationships are valuable and they should be, because, I mean, it's also proven on longevity and health. I mean, we can go into that perspective of having relationships and how
for sure.
It really makes your health better, right? I mean, it is a fact if you have good relationships, you're going to live longer. I don't think anybody's going to argue that. But what you appreciate. So when you have these relationships and you appreciate them, they become stronger, deeper, and they also grow. And I think that becomes a valuable thing later on in life, not only for the relationships, but then just for who you are as an individual, for who your children see you as, you know, a beacon of light to your community. But another thing is maybe there's someone who inspires you, you know, maybe they've changed your life and sometimes you're always getting advice from them. I think it would be wise to maybe reach out to those people and just tell them, hey, I just want to let you know you inspire me. Hey, you've changed my life. Hey, I'm so grateful. You know, because sometimes those leaders that we look up to are the ones that are constantly doing it. But then it also reminds us, for leaders that have changed our lives, you know, that's one of the things I always try to do is just say grateful for where I started and who's had an impact on my life, you being one of those people. And I always try to remember, if it weren't for you, if it weren't for a lot of other people, where would I be today? And I just always want to be grateful for that and those relationships that help me along the way become who I am today, you know? And so if people appreciate those things, they're more likely to do what? Put more time and effort and energy into those relationships. Because let's face it doesn't matter if it's a relationship with your children, a relationship with your spouse, a relationship in business. Yeah. Relationships take time, effort, and energy.
Well, and I think also along with building a relationship, if there's any other ulterior motive other than genuinely want to have a relationship with that person, because they'll smell you out, right? In fact, the book you brought up earlier, How to Win Friends and Influence People, talks about that. I mean, if you're doing something just to get a sale or just to get something out of somebody, that relationship's not going to be a deep, meaningful relationship.
What an empty life anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, if your goal, I'm guessing if anybody listening to this podcast, their goal is to have a solid life, right? Mm-hmm. And if you're going to have a solid life, that involves having great relationships. And great relationships are, you know, if you have them, you're going to be fulfilled. You're going to feel like, man, I have this great community around me. I have a support system. It makes you feel safe. It makes you feel, let's face it, unlimited sometimes. Like, man, I could accomplish anything with the group of people I have around me. Yeah. But it could also do the opposite, right? And so I think that's why it's so important to just remember that these relationships are going to fulfill your life. And rather than looking for a specific tangible benefit, how about you just remember it's what makes your life fulfilling?
Yeah, good.
You know?
Good. I think one thing we should cover before we end is the importance of, if you have a relationship that maybe, you know, sometimes there's a relationship that's not serving you or that other person very well at the moment, and it could be, maybe you're a owner of a company and you've got to let somebody go. Maybe you're an employee of a company and you've got to leave. I think the important thing is finding ways to not burn any bridges, even if you have to end the relationship for now. Because you just never know how life's going to mature down the road, and you never know when something might come back together. And I mean, I'm fortunate and blessed. I can think of only a couple of relationships that I have had in the past that I would like to make. I'm not perfect, and whether whatever didn't go right, I mean, I would love to make them right any way that I can. I feel like I've done all I can do. I genuinely do feel that, but I just know that our lives are too short to burn bridges with people that could potentially be good later down the road, right?
Yes.
So I think
I would say that our lives are too short to burn bridges, to hurt relationships, not only just because of life's short, but what it does to you as a person, right? I mean, I think as individuals, by just saying, so what, I don't care about that person or whatever, over a period of time, you start getting cold and almost calloused to relationships. And if you're callous to any relationships, it's definitely going to impact your close relationships with your family, your spouse. All that stuff matters, right? And I think we've said the word a few times, emotional availability. And I think that's an important thing, especially for a strong father. And it's very hard to do if you've burned a lot of bridges. And I'll be honest, I have to give you a compliment on this because I've watched you over the years, and I've said this before when we weren't recording, that I really respect that you've done a great job of that, because I haven't done as good of a job, and it's something that I've always tried to learn. And in the past, there have been relationships where it was just my ego in the way. No, I was right. And even I might have been right. But you know what I wasn't right about? That the relationship mattered more than me being right. That making that person feel good or making them feel like they got value because I was a part of their life really should have been more important to me at the time than being right. Yeah.
Well, I think you've obviously done a better job at it than you probably think you do. Otherwise, you wouldn't be where you're at. But there's I don't know. I mean, I try to, when those type of situations come up and I know I'm right? I know that their perception of it, if they think I'm wrong, is their perception, and our perception is our reality. So I try to take a step back in those situations and go, hey, tell me where you came up with that conclusion. Where did you come up with that? Is it something I said, or something? You probably don't want to say, is it something you thought I said? Right? But is it something I said? And then if they tell you said this, and what I might do is I might say, man, I'm sorry. I don't remember saying that. If I said that, I'm sorry. I was wrong if I said that.
Right.
And then what can I do to fix it?
I wrote down here, don't hold a grudge, learn to forgive. I think when you're saying that, I think what I've tried to do over the years in getting better in this area, because this really has been an area that I've had to do a lot of work on, so I've tried to, is just not holding a grudge. And I've said this before, I think God gave me a gift of not holding grudges. I genuinely don't. Right? I am very good at forgiving. Like, forget. If it's a challenge and we had an issue, fine. I want to fix it and move on. And I genuinely won't. I will not hold on to something that happened in the past. Once it's behind me, I'm forgetting about it. I legitimately do the best I can of erasing a challenge.
That doesn't mean you're a punching bag, right?
No,
if somebody is, I hate to use the word toxic because I think it's overused, but a toxic person, right? And they are taking advantage of you over and over and over again. In those cases, you got to set those boundaries. You can still forgive them,
right?
But you don't need to be around them anymore, right?
Exactly. You don't have to be in there. You don't have to have a relationship where you're seeing them every day if someone's toxic. In fact, it's better for you and them if that situation has happened to be, apart. But I think another word that I wrote down here is empathy, right? A lot of times you just have empathy for someone else. I think in the world today, everybody's so so worried about their opinion, and I think part of that is social media has given a lot of really unintelligent people a platform for not very wise ideas or opinions. And then
Everyone's a life coach.
Yeah, and then people like it and comment on it. And now they really think they get more enforcement of their bad ideas, even though it's not reality. So I think when I talk about empathy, I think first of all, if you're strong in your morals and your values and where you stand, you don't have to be threatened by somebody else's. And that's what empathy is that, all right, I understand where I am, and I'm going to do a really good job of understanding where you are and maybe putting myself in your shoes for a minute to try to get you closer to seeing things how I see it. But if I can't put myself in your shoes, if I can't be willing to look at it from your perspective, then how can I ever expect to move you closer or to be able to influence that relationship? I can't.
And in order, like you talked about at the beginning of this podcast, with the environment we're in right now in politics, for example, and there's the left and there's the right, and some that are in kind of the middle. And I mean, I'm super conservative. You're super conservative. But being able to look at the left, right, and go, okay, they think the way they think, and have an empathy because of their programming.
Yeah, their situations in life, maybe the challenges they've gone through.
And it's frustrating for me, and just like it's frustrating for them with some of my beliefs, because I'm strong in mine and they're strong in theirs, and there's some issues that are, I'm like, this is right, and because of what I've I guess studied and what I feel and believe and feel like is right.
Yeah.
But they're just as strong in their beliefs. And I think if we're ever going to bring this country together, we've got to somehow be able to have empathy for those that have differing opinions.
Yes.
I think without accepting, and this is where it gets tricky, without accepting stuff. I mean, I don't know how else to say it other than if they're making.
Accepting what's wrong immorally.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. I mean, morally and ethically, if that's wrong, it's wrong, right?
Yeah.
And you can't accept that. I mean, love the sinner, not the sin type situation, you know? And, well, are you calling them sinners? Well, look, based on what I believe, maybe there's something that somebody does that,
we all are.
Yeah, we're all.
Yeah,
I am too.
We're all, we all sin every single day. Nobody's perfect. And I think in that situation, one of the things I've tried to do is just realize that they've got a story to tell. And so what I've found that helps me a lot when there's somebody that I totally disagree with is just to say, hey, tell me your story.
Yeah.
Like, what happened? And, dude, I've done this before, and I've watched people break down crying because nobody has ever asked them,
listened to them.
What is your story? Like, why do you see the world this way? And a lot of times it's just asking them, what's your story? And then I think once you find out someone's story, you can just find some common ground and you can find some things that you can build on. But if you're never willing to do that, if you don't have any empathy, if you just say, I disagree with that person, they're wrong, and they could be.
Yeah.
But what does that matter? I'm not looking to be right.
Right.
I'm looking for a way to build a relationship. And listen, if you only have relationships with one kind of person, I'm sorry, but you're a small person. If to me, a leader is someone who can build relationships with all different kinds of people. And I look at diversity as something special. It happens in the wild, right? If you take away diversity in the wild, the ecosystem collapse.
Yeah.
I think what makes America special is diversity, right? Places that are different. I don't want that to go away. So I'm okay with somebody having different perspectives and beliefs as long as I'm rooted in mine. Because I know they're not going to change mine. It's okay. And I don't expect to change yours too. But maybe we can influence each other and have some positive impact on each other.
And understand each other.
If we know where we come from.
Yeah.
Right? It's like sometimes people have these very, very rigid and even totally separate perspectives, so far away from maybe where we stand.
And I can see why.
Yes.
Based on what they've been around and what they've seen and witnessed their entire lives, I can see why. I can see it.
So here's what I see usually happens in that situation. If there is somebody that is so far away and you have to be right, all that happens is both people fight and both people push back. But if you start finding some common ground and say, tell me your story, I want to know a little bit about you, tell me your past, and you start figuring about it, now you can start finding a bridge to build. And then once they know you care about them and that it matters, and then there's some influence that can happen. And then if they start looking up to you, you don't have to tell them to change things. And this is the mistake in the world today. So many people are just trying to shout and yell their perspectives and what people need to live like and how they need to be versus just being that person. Because it's, there's the saying in business is your actions speak so loudly, I cannot hear what you're saying. And I hope people listening live by that. Your actions speak so loudly, I can't hear what you're saying.
Yep, it's good.
It's you could go to these conservative Christian views, and I see a lot of people hide behind the cross. And, that's just not, I don't know, I don't agree with it. I think it's wrong because I know some of the decisions you made or whatever. I don't have to, I don't have to agree with them, right?
Yeah.
Even though maybe some of my morals and values or maybe even my religious beliefs maybe align with that, but I don't agree in their approach, right? And then there are some people who are so far away from maybe the perspectives that I see in life, but their approach isn't so staunch in their standing that we can at least have a conversation and maybe have something to build upon. And I think that's how you unite. And if you're going to have a strong business, right? If it's a strong business or anything, you're going to teach your children how to go succeed in life. You have to be able to build that bridge between differing beliefs.
Yep.
Because I don't know about you, but I want a worldwide business. I want everywhere. I want to be able to attract everybody, and I want to be able to influence people in a positive way.
Yep.
And I don't expect to influence somebody that I'm not willing to earn that from. And that earn is all from a relationship. And a relationship takes time, effort, energy, and I've got to pour into it. And expecting nothing in return, too. The only thing I expect in return is just some common ground we can build a relationship on.
Yep. Good.
I think if more people approached the world like that today, we'd have a lot more positive get done.
Yeah. It's a great way to handle it, man, for sure.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, good. I think there's been some gold today. I think it's going to help a lot of people. Just some things here that we've learned, and hopefully we're coming across as real as we can. We're not trying to be anything different than who we are, I promise. But whatever we can do to really help others. You and I, we're just learning just like everybody else, right?
Yeah, for
trying
sure.
to get better.
Well, I think that's a great thing about this, man. That really, as we're talking about this is stuff that we all work on. We've worked on in the past. We've dealt with a lot of people and stuff that we see that happens. And our organizations, we're very diverse, right? Our organizations,
absolutely.
People from all different walks of life, all different religions, all different socioeconomic statuses, from all over the place. And so being able to be in a business like that, I think is pretty unique in general. If you're going to go into technology, usually it's, pretty similar kind of person, or construction, it's pretty similar person. But we were in a business that was very, very diverse.
Yeah. Yep.
And so you see diverse challenges, but then when you learn how to handle those diverse challenges, you find common denominators that really work when dealing with people anywhere.
Right. For sure.
What a great skill to learn, dude.
No question. No question. Yeah, life is going to be much more enriching if you get some of this stuff down and learn just good fundamental people skills. Again, a lot of people have them, but a lot of people could use some
We
help,
all could, and we could all use a reminder. And it also makes the world a better place. It gives us a more fulfilling life. It makes our communities better. It just makes everything better because we make a decision to have good people skills.
Right.
And I think I've said this on every podcast. Every day I just wake up, I just want to get better.
For sure.
So whether that's in my people skills or my marriage or whatever. And I have to do that because I know I'm not perfect, man. I mess up more than I do right. And so as long as I can focus every day, just like, hey, get better on this, then I think that's where we start reaching happiness. We start finding that little thing of progression and going, yeah, I can get better. I do have control over that. I can make the world a better place. I can make the people around me better. I do have control of the people around me and how they respond to me and the situation that I'm in and how I feel about my life. All of those things are all wrapped up in people skills.
Yeah. You're so good, brother.
Yeah.
It's awesome stuff.
Thank you.
Well,
You too, man.
we definitely, over the coming weeks here, we'll have some incredible guests on.
Yes.
We're putting all that together and getting those lined up, so that's going to be exciting and fun.
I'm excited.
And we would just tell everybody to like and subscribe and comment and anything you'd like us to cover or hear more of. Or
Yeah, I would say on that, dude, I've been having a lot of people reach out to me directly, whether it's direct message on social media or text or whatever, and they're just asking, one is, thank you guys for all you guys that are supporting us. But number two is ask, hey, how can I help? And the biggest thing people can do is comment, please leave a comment, review the podcast, and then just share it with people, right? Because if you like, comment, and review, it's just weird. It moves it up the algorithm, so it's not at the bottom of the list. So, the more comments and likes and stuff, obviously it moves it up the list so we can start impacting people. But then if you can just share it with people, just get the word out there for us, and maybe choose 3 friends that you think one of the episodes might help, and share it with them.
We're excited. We're working on some cool things, maybe some retreats and some events, and some things for men and boys, and partnerships to come together, and so it's going to be really cool as we get all that stuff put together. Just to help. We want to give back as much as we possibly can. I mean, we've been blessed with so much. So I think that's it for today, huh?
Awesome.
I think let's go out there, be solid, and go win.
That's what I'm talking about.
We'll see everybody next week.
Man.
Appreciate you too, buddy.
All right, guys.